Another Dooley Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome in to another edition of Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Shackau and Mercandone Studios. We appreciate everybody for clicking on. In a little bit, we're going to talk to Jan Richards from Florida Rising Stars about the big thing they have Monday night with Rocky Blyer here at Spurs Gridiron Grill. And then later on, Robbie Andreu will join us. We'll talk to him about the fiasco in Columbia last week and then the obviously the game this week, as much as anybody really wants to talk about it. It feels so weird this week. It almost feels like the South Carolina game was a month ago. Like it was a long time ago. And so, you know,
Recording
I don't know why
in progress.
it feels that way. And it doesn't even feel like there's a game. Like I had to remind myself today. I go, yeah, Florida's playing. And a lot of it's who they're playing. And it's kind of it's kind of an interesting path that it took to being this weekend, because it was next weekend, which is when you usually play this kind of a game as a warm-up for FSU. It's kind of like a bye week or whatever. But they moved it to the front of the season, and then, to be the opener, and then they signed the deal with FAU, and that's when FAU needed that date to be when they played. So then they moved the game back to where it is, but they couldn't move it to this weekend because by then the SEC had already scheduled and tried to get some good games on next Saturday, because that was a problem in the SEC for a long time, where the league on the Saturday before all these rivalry games literally would have no games. It's all Alabama State and New Mexico State. Well, that's who Alabama's playing this week, but it just weren't very good games. And they were like, hey, look, we can't give the network a dark Saturday where nobody wants to watch any of our games. So we've got to start scheduling some conference games. And that's what they started doing. And they actually obviously have a few next week. They're not the greatest games, but they've got a few conference games next week. And one of them's Florida at Missouri, which before the season probably looked like a fairly significant game. Now it's poop. It's a game I don't think many people want to watch. So anyway, that's how the game ends up being this weekend. I think I had this stat, and I misplaced it in one of my 40 notebooks, that Florida has only played like 4 or 5 games against teams on this weekend that weren't conference teams. I mean, they played South Carolina on it, obviously, Tennessee one year, but all conference games. And then this year is one of the few times there were a couple other games. One of them, I think it was that Utah game back in the Emmitt Smith days. Anyway, so here we are. Here we are with where we are. And we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what kind of crowd it's going to be. Don't see the point in going there to a game and being a negative fan. Look, I understand you get upset. I mean, everybody's upset right now. Everybody's mad. But booing your team is not going to help recruiting, or it's not going to help anything that's going on with this program. This is a weekend where they're bringing back some players, some former players, and so that's what you're going to do. Is you're going to boo. They're going to say, "Oh, this is what we've left behind. This is what it's become, where they get this way." Of course, they probably heard it before. After all, there's a lot of guys who were on the national championship team that heard their starting quarterback get booed back in the old days. Whether people were booing him or not doesn't matter. That when he ran on the field is when you booed, so it counts. So here we are, and I think that with the firings that Dan Mullen made, I mean, you had to let those two guys go for obvious reasons. I think we've all been through all that. But the question I keep bringing myself up to is Dan Mullen going to change some things? Not just change, firing your assistant coaches is not always the answer. It may be an answer. It could be part of the answer, but I don't think it's definitely not the answer at the University of Florida right now. They're sitting there with, there's a real, I mean, I don't think probability, but a possibility Florida could end up with their third 4-win season in 9 years. I mean, that is unbelievable when you think about it, with all different coaches. So I don't know. One question I have is, does Florida have any gas left? I don't know if they do or not. I don't know if they have any. I thought the quote from I think it was Damian Pierce was a good one on. I guess it was Tuesday that he talked, and he said that he's not seeing anybody jumping in the transfer portal. Nobody's not showing up for practice. I mean, they're still trying to keep it. And he's trying to keep it as a leader for this team, trying to keep it, going in the right direction. But it's obviously not going in the right direction. But I don't know what. I mean, they finally get to play at home. Think about this. And again, I think this. I've said this before. I think the SEC has done a lot of lazy scheduling. And in a season again like this, and this has happened before, where Florida doesn't play a game in its home stadium for over a month, 5 weeks, seems silly to me. I think there's a way to work that so it doesn't happen. But so finally they get to play at the Swamp, where they have a great advantage, and they'll probably be, I don't know, 70,000 people, maybe 60,000. I don't know. I think this is traditionally the game, where you bring your kids, because you can get tickets easier. They're cheaper. You can get them, you're not going to get raked over the coals. And so you bring your family. So you may end up with a decent crowd, and hopefully those youngsters will make some noise because they're going to need it. But here they are sitting here with this situation, and everybody, and we'll talk to Robbie about this a little bit later, everybody is, really enjoying Florida's demise, because Florida is Florida. Florida's different than everybody else in this conference. It's a different place. And people love it when Florida fails. They love it. They like to be part of the reason Florida fails. They really love it when Florida fails. And so that's what we're sitting here looking at. But I keep seeing this, and I know that some people just kind of say stupid things on the internet, but anybody who's rooting for Florida to lose this game just doesn't get it at all. If you're rooting for Florida to lose a game, think of how is that going to help recruiting? Is that going to help? Well, yeah, here's what will happen. They'll get rid of Dan Mullen if they lose this game. Well, maybe. And so you start all over again. But if you're rooting for Florida to lose a game, then you're not a Gator fan. You're just not. Gator fans never root for their team to lose, okay? True Gator fans. So I've never in my life. I rooted for other teams to lose, FSU, Kentucky basketball, but certainly not Florida. So look, whatever happens here down the stretch, Scott Strickland has a decision to make. It's not going to be the easiest thing he's ever had to do if he has to do something, but he may not. But I will say this, Towson. All week I have been trying to confuse Samford and Towson, and I don't know why. Because they played Towson a couple years ago, I think. It was like this game a couple years ago. Anyway, Samford, they're not bad. They're really good on offense. So they put up some big numbers. Now I know they're playing all FCS teams. And I don't know how many of you are aware that they didn't play last fall, but they did play in the spring, and they were able to play 7 games in the spring. So they really, maybe they'll be worn out when they come here, but they're actually they've got a good offense. They can run, they can throw. They've got guys with big numbers. One of them's from Florida, their leading rusher. And their quarterback's a dual threat guy. He can be hard to deal with as well. So, look, I'm curious to see what Christian Robinson throws out there against the Gators, or against Samford, against the Bulldogs, I should say, because he's got a lot of work to do. So, and again, I don't know if he's going to get the job permanently. Personally, I think they ought to call Charlie Strong right now and tell him to get down here and start recruiting. That's what I would do. But nobody asked me, and nobody has ever asked me. All right, so we'll talk some more about that. We got to get to all of our other great stuff, including the Leonardo's quick picks. But right now we're going to go talk to Jan Richard, who, of course, works with the Florida Rising Stars. And they're having a great event on Monday night with Rocky Blyer. And I don't know, we had him on the radio this week, Jan, and I don't know if you know this, why he has the name Rocky, why he was given that name.
Yeah, I did hear. I watched your interview, and it was something about when he was a baby. One of his father's friends thought he was a little rock in the crib or whatever. I never heard that.
It was the people from the local bar, I guess. They were calling him the Rock.
In fact, somebody asked me the other day what his real name was, and I said, I really don't know. I've known him as Rocky Blyer for. I really don't know what his real name is.
I think he said it on the show, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, he may have.
But so it's really interesting because this guy was certainly a star for the Steelers with a lot of Super Bowl rings. But there's going to what you guys are doing on Monday. I think it's 5:30 to 8, right?
Correct. Yes.
You can buy tickets for it, and he'll be here. It'll be like a meet and greet, and that'll be a great opportunity to get to know, because his story's a great story.
It really is. He got drafted by the Steelers, then he got his second draft notice from the United States Army, and went to Vietnam.
Yeah, one of those you want, the other one not so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, back in those days, you didn't have much of a choice. If you remember, back then it was by number. It was by lottery number.
Yeah.
If you got a low number, you were gone. No questions asked. So he didn't complain. He went and he did his thing, but he got very, very injured. He came very close to dying, as a matter of fact. And when he got to Japan for rehab, he spent 11 months in Japan. And when he got there, they told him he'd be lucky if he ever walked again. And of course, Rocky, in his quiet, confident way, just pretty much looked at him and said, "Okay, watch me." And then he proceeded to go through those 11 months. He came back to the United States and spent a year getting back into what he thought was football shape. Asked the Rooneys, who, as you know, are about as dedicated a ownership group as there is, asked him if he could come to camp. And, they probably thought to themselves, yeah, right, sure. But they said, sure, Rock, come on, And lo and behold, he made the team. And 10 years later, four Super Bowl rings. So, yeah, he's a very I've known in fact, we tried to figure out, we played golf together about 25 years ago in a celebrity tournament. That's how I met him, and we've stayed close since. And I just asked him if he'd be interested in doing this. I mean, he still lives in Pittsburgh. And, it's kind of a far jaunt. And he said, sure, of course. He was one of our original, right behind Coach Bowden and Coach Spurrier. He was one of our original ambassadors. So he's been with us since day one, basically. And so I really look forward to this. I think people are gonna get something out of this, out of hearing him speak.
Oh, absolutely. He was great the other day. We talked to him, and he, it's kind of coincidental. I don't know if it's a coincidence or that Veterans Day was just Thursday,
yeah.
and now you're having him because obviously he did his country proud and great job. I mean, the only reason I mentioned that about getting your draft notice is I'm night blind, and I was thinking, man, if they draft me, I'm in real trouble.
Yeah.
But luckily, I was like a year too young to get drafted. So thank goodness I didn't have to go over there and deal with that.
Well, we're going to have, upon the suggestion of one of my favorite people, Lee McGriff, we're going to have 20 kids there also. Lee started by saying, he said, do you think it would be a problem if I brought my grandson? I'd really like him to hear Rocky's message. And that turned into what we call the Send a Kid program. We've got 10 middle school kids and 10 high school kids coming. So these kids, I'm sure, have no clue who Rocky Blyer is, but they won't know going in. They'll know when they leave who he is. So he'll make an impression on them. So
yeah, I used to love that little play they would run where you'd have to stop Franco and they'd run him out of the backfield and slip him that little short pass, and he'd turn it into a big gain. And the Steelers were amazing during that time.
Yeah, they were. And I mean, he used to say, he said Mike Webster used to make most of the calls. Bradshaw would come up and call an audible, and Webster would turn around and say no. So, I guess they had 3 or 4 plays basically back in those days. It wasn't the the John Gruden language now about little red pony, left, right, all this other stuff.
Wide banana.
Wide right, wide left, whatever, and so we're gonna have some fun, and we hope we still have some tickets left. So if anybody is interested in coming or in meeting Rocky in person, it's something I'm quite sure you'll never forget. Just go to our website, FloridaRisingStars.com, and a window will pop right up and it takes you right to our page, and just buy your tickets right online immediately. And so we still do have some seats available, but
That's cool.
Anyways, we're pretty happy about this. This turned out pretty well. So.
All right, before I let you go, Jan, you're going to get the honor of picking our Leonardo's at Millhopper winner of what we always give the $25 at Leonardo's at Millhopper, and several other things that I always put in the package. And you get to pick it because we've got 46 entrants this week from this segment, from 46 people. Some of them are duplicated because they qualified twice, and they qualify every Monday and Friday on the show. And all you got to do is give me a number between 1 and 46, and that's corresponding person will be the winner.
How about 20, Rocky's number?
20, Rocky's number. Alex Jenkins is the winner. So Alex Jenkins, I'll just give me your information, and I will send it to me, and I will be happy to send you all the stuff. And you can thank Jan for picking that number because it was.
Congratulations,
good.
Alex.
Hey, really great thing that you're doing, and we love having you on, and good luck with everything on Monday night, okay?
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, Jan, thanks a lot. Jan Richard.
Have a good day.
Florida Rising Stars, and we do have a winner, as we just said. Alex Jenkins winning the Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks contest this week. Alex hasn't won before, so good. Although I don't have his address, I got to get it. So Alex, just send me an email, let me know, and appreciate so much to thank you to Kyle over there at Leonardo's. In fact, when I went in there to get some gift certificates that I was purchasing for this show, I said, hey, I'll throw in another 50 if you throw in 50. Boom. So we've got a lot of gift certificates to give away and we may cut, like that one was a long one, that segment. For some reason, we kept it going. We were trying to mess with stuff. Our brains have all been a little fried with this 3-game losing streak Florida's on. But we had a lot of people qualify. In fact, one guy qualified 6 times and didn't win, though, unfortunately for him. But he has won before. All right, so that is going to do it for our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks for today. We're not going to have a qualifier today because we picked the winner today. But, of course, on Monday, we're going to have our guest is going to be Adam Rittenberg from ESPN. Great writer. Looking forward to having him on the show. And we'll talk a lot of college football. And who knows what's going to happen this weekend. Well, I mean, obviously, what happens with Florida is not for once in my life, for once in a lot of your lives, probably isn't the biggest thing that's going on this weekend. You're probably going to watch some other games. And for many of you, you'll be listening. So he mentioned Lee McGriff. Lee McGriff back in the saddle for a home game. And you can listen to Mick and Lee if you can't watch it. I think I can watch it. I think I get ESPN Plus or some version of it. Somehow I'll find a way to watch it, hopefully. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to Robbie Andreu about what happened Saturday, what's going to happen this Saturday, all that and more, and whether Dan Mullen should be the head coach at Florida next year. We always look forward to Robbie's coming in. And, of course, he is brought to you by Hand Law, as our 3 things. We'll get to those eventually as well. You are watching or listening to Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Shaq Allen Mercandani Studios.
Spend an evening with the great Rocky Blyer and support our community's youth. You can meet this true American war hero and football champion November 15th at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Visit FloridaRisingStars.com for tickets, event, and sponsor information.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shackow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shackow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Hey, this is Pat Dooley for the Gainesville Quarterback Club, and they are having a trial membership here at the end of the season. It's really a great deal. We've talked about them doing it at the beginning of the season, and what they're doing is they're offering the next 3 meetings for $100. And believe me, you get a full meal out of this, too. Every one of these meetings. It's great speakers. The meeting dates for this are November 9th, 16th, and 23rd as we wrap up this college football season. Anyone interested in taking advantage of this trial membership can RSVP the membership leader at bob.bagley@pauldavis.com. Or you can just pay at the door.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brew To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. All right, welcome back to Another Duly Noted Podcast. It's always a great pleasure to welcome in Robbie Andreu to the set, to the Shackow and Mercadante studios. And, of course, Robbie is presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website, www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville, and they present all of Robbie's appearances. And, Robbie, it's kind of funny. I got a text from you at almost the exact same point when my wife knocked down the door and went, I need everybody fired. Yeah. That was really, literally one of the worst nights for Florida football in the history of the program.
Yeah, Pat, they quit. There was no doubt they had the defensive game plan was a joke, for one thing.
Well, it has been for a while.
And the offense was awful again. Emory had the big turnover in the half. And for the second game in a row, you knew the game was over at halftime.
I know.
And they quit. And it reminded me of, remember after Florida lost a bad game to Georgia in '76 where they were leading at half? The following
fourth
week,
and dumb, yeah.
Yeah, the following week they went to Kentucky and just got annihilated. And this game reminded me of that one, where they just laid down and quit.
Yeah. Well, that's
And
on
that's
the
on
players.
everybody.
It's on it's
coaches,
on the
players,
players, it's on the
everybody.
coaches. But I mean, these guys have got to do a better job with recruiting, but they also have to do a better job with motivation and coaching. And I think Dan Mullen kind of lost himself and how good a job he was doing and scheming things up, and really kind of got to the point where he thought that's all he needed to do.
Yeah.
And Kirby Smart just kind of stuck it right to him when he
And
said,
he keeps sticking it to him in recruiting right now.
So we're going to get the best players and then go ahead and try it out, scheme us.
Yeah. The thing is, Pat, Dan Mullen's energy level seems to have kind of ebbed a little bit.
Yeah.
It didn't where it was a couple of years ago, when he was talking about thumb wrestling and wanting to kick your ass and all that. Where is that Dan Mullen gone?
Well, we saw a little version of it Monday and Wednesday. When there was almost like, to me, like he had a sense of relief.
Yeah.
All right, I got that problem
It's done.
solved.
Had to get rid of him.
Let's move on. Let's get rid of this situation that we've got. Two guys that weren't very good recruiters, and all
Not good scheming up either.
Well,
lately,
I mean, I thought Mullen put it pretty well when he talked about how you need to get better with every game, and instead they were going the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, every coach wants his team to get better over the course of the year. They've just gotten worse and worse from week to week, which is an alarming type thing. And now it's going to impact everything else: recruiting, fan interest, fan attendance, which I can't imagine what it's going to be like in this game
Tomorrow.
against Samford.
Yeah,
If they get 50,000, I think they'll be happy.
Well, the one good thing is not everybody can watch it on TV.
Yeah,
I
that
guess
could force
it's
some
on
people
ESPN
out.
Plus, but again, so here are your options. You can stay home, watch other games on TV, or you can
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can go to a game with a team that you don't like right now.
Yeah.
I will say this though.
And whatever happens doesn't matter, Pat. They could throw
No.
for 500 yards, score 80 points. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean they could. I don't think they will
Yeah.
stuff Samford because Samford's got a really good offense.
Well, then they're going to have problems on defense
And
again.
we're going to get booing, and that's the thing that kind of when I was talking on Tuesday night to the quarterback club,
What was their mood, Pat?
it was about the same as always. I
Yeah.
mean, they kind of those people are really smart, and that they kind of wash the losses off.
Yeah.
By the time they get to Tuesday night, they're
veterans.
They're
at this.
cleansed. Yeah. Well, they've been through a lot. Most of these have been through a lot more. But so I was just saying, look, if you go out there and you boo your coach and you boo Emory Jones and you boo these people, that ain't helping recruiting.
No.
Okay,
You're
so-
only hurting it.
Yeah,
Don't boo college players.
But the other thing is, I think people. I talked about this earlier. I've heard more. I mean, multiple people say this. Go Samford. We want Mullen out. Lose to Samford.
No, don't never
That
get
is
to that point. No.
Then you're not a Gator fan.
No, you're
You're
not.
not.
You're an
I'm sorry.
anti-Mullen fan is what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, it's like voting for president.
Yeah.
It's got, But I mean, that's not doing you any good either.
No, I don't think they're going to lose this game, but there is a very good chance they could lose the last two, Pat.
Yeah.
On the road with Missouri, which has a good offense.
The
Could
4
be
o'clock
like the
game,
South
so it'll be
Carolina game.
chilly.
Yeah. And then
probably.
FSU has been getting better over the course of the year, and Florida hasn't.
No, those
So those two, it wouldn't shock me. 5 and 7 wouldn't shock me at this point.
these were the 4 games here at the end of the season that even after the Georgia loss, you went, well, you got 4 games to get
You
better.
can run the table here. You're going to be favored.
Yeah, but already game 1,
Gone.
instead they got destroyed. And then we have this whole thing with Anthony Richardson, obviously not being able to play, and then he hurts his knee doing a dance in the hotel the night before the game. And
Did you see the dance he posted on Twitter? You could tell it put stress on the knee.
well,
that kind of dance.
That's why you don't do it,
Yeah.
But
Do your backflips, but not that dance move.
So we'll see where. Yeah, I mean, he's such an incredible athlete. You just want to see him do some things, but you got to be smarter than that.
Yeah, you do. You got to get yourself in a position to get to the game to play it. First of all,
And therein goes the other problem, which is, let's just say he doesn't play anymore this year because of the knee or because of any other reason, injuries or anything like that. It's now you don't go in with any built momentum. We talked
yeah,
about
no
that a
momentum
lot.
right now. They've got none.
No, there isn't much momentum at all.
So you've got a few weeks now to try to gain a little bit, and if they don't, then I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, for Florida to have in potentially 3 4-win seasons in 9 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
that is not the Gator standard.
It's totally different coaches. It's
Yeah.
2 different athletic directors. It's all different players. But somehow that this has happened. And that's why I keep going back to the same thing of if you get rid of Mullen, all you're doing is starting over again.
Yeah.
And that's where how they've kind of gotten into this situation.
But if you don't get rid of Mullen, Pat, you lose this recruiting year. You may not recruit well again the next year, and then you're really in a hole. So, I mean, if you ultimately he's going to get fired, maybe you need to just go ahead and do it.
Well, I mean,
and start over. I mean, some people are thinking maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, but I mean, they're also not the ones having to pay the buyout.
No, exactly.
So you build this Taj Mahal over there, but now you also add in a $12 million buyout you got to pay.
The thing that's alarming to me, Pat, is after 2 years with Mullen, you would have thought by year 4 they were going to be contending for national titles and stuff, and it's blown up on them. It's
just I've never seen quite a fall from grace
so quickly.
Yeah, because you're talking about 11 months.
Yeah.
From where they were going to the LSU game.
Yeah, best offense in college football, basically. People were comparing them to LSU from the previous year. I mean, they were close to making the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, they were in that. I think it was the second ranking, right?
Yeah.
And then and Trask was going to win the Heisman.
He was rolling.
It was, and then all of a sudden it just went.
And it's been bad ever since.
It has been bad, and that's the problem. I think that when we go back just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we were talking about this, and I was talking about how I don't know what the answer is for Florida, and I don't. I still
don't either,
don't.
Pat. People keep asking me in my neighborhood, what can you do? And I go, I don't know what the problem is. I don't know why it's come to this and how to get out of it. How do you get out of it?
It's almost like there's been a culture that's been built, and even with new coaches, it hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can't really explain why. And it kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Muschamp won 11 games.
Yeah.
Then he won 4.
Yeah.
McElwain won the East twice.
Yeah.
Then he got fired. Obviously, Mullen was at a peak. I mean, he was as good as he's ever been, and then all of a sudden he can't do anything.
Here's one thing, Pat, I think nobody's really paying much attention to that maybe they need to address this: the strength staff.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks Nick Savage is this great guy, and the players love him. But you watch Florida play; they're not physical. They don't play fast. They're not aggressive. You look at other teams play, even teams that aren't winning, FSU, Miami, they play hard. I don't see Florida playing hard, running around. And I don't see the physical. When has there been a big hit this year that you remember from a Florida player? Has there been one memorable hit?
Look, I'm trying to think. If you said what was the best defensive play Florida made this year, and I'm like,
I can't come up with one.
I can't come up with one.
No.
I'm not sure I know a great offensive play unless it was Richardson against South Florida.
Yeah, when he pulled his hammy.
when he got hurt, which started that downward spiral.
Yeah,
too.
so there's got to be something wrong with the physicality of this team is not what it should be.
Well, and that's interesting because I remember doing a big story on Nick Savage, and right when he was first, he'd been here probably 6 months or whatever. And his philosophy has always been, and this is Dan Mullen's philosophy, is to get great athletes. Don't necessarily try to develop weightlifters, but develop great athletes.
Yeah.
So that now they're in this predicament where they don't have the meat.
They really don't.
The bulk up front, and they don't have the bulk at middle linebacker, and they're trying to play outside linebackers in the middle, and that's where they've gotten into a lot of trouble.
They really have. That's why they can't stop the run, Pat.
Yeah, just because of that style. Yeah.
They don't have a David Reese in there to run stop.
Yeah, guys like that, I know sometimes we get on them about their ability to cover the passing game. Guys like David Reese, guys like Brandon Seiler, but you got to have guys like that.
You do. You have to. This league, you've got to have them.
Yeah, and they don't have them. It does feel weird, though, this week, too. It's almost like I keep forgetting that they're playing a game. Like they're playing a game tomorrow, and I'm like,
well, a lot of people I think have just said this season's done. Let's move on to the next one.
Well,
but it's not done. You got to try, like we talked about, momentum. You got to get a little bit.
I did. I told Kelsey this, that I said, Kelsey, maybe I'll just go to the game Saturday. Maybe I'll go to the game, wear my Gator stuff, and cheer like crazy. When they come out, I'll cheer for them. When Emory goes in the game, I'll be clapping as loud as everybody. Because it's easy to root for your team when they're winning. It's hard when they're losing and, things aren't going well. It's hard to get behind. You got to get behind them. That's when they need you the most. And then she goes, well, are you going to go? And I go, I'm not going to go.
You're not getting behind them.
I'm going to watch it on TV.
Well, the thing is, if you have a problem with the coaches, that's one thing. Don't get down on the players. Don't boo them.
No.
Get behind them.
Yeah, they've done. I mean, look, they're just. Well, I would say doing their best, but they didn't.
But they're not. They're not.
Yeah.
They quit in the last game.
But again, that still comes down to the coaches have got to get more. And I wonder how much want to there was going into that game last week with the coaching staff, because they had to know what was going on, that there was the possibility of something
People
going on.
were going to get fired, yeah.
Yeah, but I will tell you, Robbie, I pointed this out, I think, on Monday's show. If there's one play that got Todd Grantham fired, which I know that's not the case, it's not one play, but if there was one play, it's that pass to Van in the back of the end zone when
nobody within 20 yards of him.
And did you see what they put out, the South Carolina people?
No.
They put out this great troll where things Josh Van could have done waiting for the ball to come down. And he's like watching a sitcom and making himself a sandwich.
That's funny. But yeah, that was the ridiculous play.
Think about it, Robbie. That's 3rd and 8.
Yeah.
13-10.
Yeah, you get a stop there.
Stop them. It's 16-10 if you can hold them to a field goal. And then you score again.
And you got the lead.
You get the lead.
Different game, yeah.
It just went totally, and just the...
It was like that 2 minutes of the Georgia game where that thing fell apart on them completely, where they were in the game.
Well, and again, this goes back to coaching. And I know that guys need to... Yeah, look how wide open he is. Look at this. Who's covering him?
The safety blew his coverage.
Well, I don't know about it.
Things he could have done. More anybody could have gotten to him.
This is classic.
In the end zone. See on his phone? Yeah.
He's just sending texts. Oh, he's taking
a nap in the end zone with a pillow and a blanket. He's reading a book.
It's hilarious.
That is funny.
But that's kind of
in your face type stuff right there. That would motivate me.
And that's the other thing, Robbie, is
he's playing golf now.
I think it's like other fans from other teams and other in other media, they love to pick on Florida because Florida, when Florida's going good, what has Florida been? They've been a little arrogant.
Yeah.
Well, under Spurrier, there's no doubt. Under Meyer, that's the way it's been. So when you have it going bad, it's going to be more painful because they're going to get on you.
People are going to do stuff like this.
Yeah, and like I've said this before. What I should be able to give a speech to every athlete over there and make them realize everybody wants to beat Florida. Everybody, in every sport, softball, baseball, everything. They want to beat Florida because you guys don't belong with them in the SEC. Yeah. The SEC is different. The SEC is Alabama and Tuscaloosa and Auburn and Starkville and places like that. It's not Gainesville. It's not a.
But the Gators across the border are making people happy though because they're losing in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I mean, losing games they shouldn't, and more than sport.
Yeah. So I'm telling you that I don't think that all sports trophies coming home to roost.
Yeah. Well, like I walked by the UF golf course the other day, Pat, and Florida, which should always be great in golf, has not won the SEC since 2011.
Yeah.
That's a decade.
It's a long time.
I mean, that's not good.
And you look at what happened with soccer. Obviously, you make a change there, and they go 4-12-1 or something like that.
Baseball was a disappointment.
Huge disappointment. So everybody's having fun, but again, this goes back to what I talk about all the time. Is Florida fans had the taste of the greatest run ever, and winning the 2 football and 2 basketball within 3-year period. Nobody's ever done it. Yeah. Nobody probably ever will do it. They had that great taste, and they want to taste it again. But Pat, it's like eating this great souffle, and then all of a sudden.
But you remember during the '90s? But I remember telling you did too. We told people enjoy it because it doesn't last forever, and we've seen it. It goes up and down. I mean, and now they're down right now. So it's going to take a lot of work to get back up.
And that's the thing with Alabama, for example. Everybody goes, "Well, Alabama's always good." Remember?
No, they weren't always.
Yeah, but don't you remember the Mike DeBoe's 3-8 season?
The Mike Shula.
Mike Shula. Era. They made some bad choices. And that's the thing. If you make the wrong choices, it puts your program back, and then
you got to start over.
And
again.
then you start over, and you're starting from a place that's even worse than it was before. So I don't know. I tend not to call for coaches' heads. Especially head coaches. I mean, I remember you and I sitting there watching the Will Muschamp game against Spurrier.
Yeah.
When he lost the game, but they were winning the whole game.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the score was at the time, but you finally turned to me and go, even if they win this game, you got a right that you got to fire him.
It's not going to work.
They got to fire him. This is just no fun to watch. It's terrible. And then they went ahead and lost it, so
And
I was
he did
able
get
to write
fired,
it,
yeah.
and he did get fired. But
that's with the Mullen thing, Pat. If they lose the last two, which I think could happen, does he need to be fired? Because
5
if you
and
don't
7.
do it, I mean, you're gonna have the worst recruiting year you've had in maybe 50 years.
Well, I would again. We don't know what kind of answer Scott Strickland's getting, and there was a big story that was on the web today that I saw about that they're not recruiting the right way, and this recruit that's committed
Yeah, I
to
saw
Georgia.
that.
And look, he probably got nudged to do those kind of things to just kind
Sure.
of degrade him more. But if all the things that he said were true, that he hadn't even gotten to know the wide receivers coach,
And he's a wide receiver.
yeah, so he's getting recruited by.
So that
the
makes no
linebackers
sense
coach.
at all, Pat. I mean, we're not football coaches, but that makes zero sense. Not having
Right.
a wide receiver coach recruit the wide receivers.
But it's possible that that's not true, or that that's not the way. But whatever it is, whatever is going on, we know that
It's not working. Let's
It's
put it
not
that
working.
way.
So Dan Mullen needs to figure it out, and he needs to get help in a lot of ways, or there is no point in going on. If you're going to go on and say, "Here's what we're going to do: we're going to count on the transfer portal again. We're going to keep."
But that hasn't really worked out this year.
Not this year.
I mean, the defensive linemen, they
They're
can't
not
stop
much of
the
a
run.
factor. Yeah.
No.
It's amazing to think that they got 3 SEC defensive linemen
Big,
in the transfer
fully
portal.
grown, mature men, and
Yeah.
yet they're not better against
And
the
that
run.
Gervin Dexter, I figure, would be a much better player this year. And they can't
And he has
stop
been
the
at
run.
times, but
Yeah, at times. That's the thing. These guys, I think there's a lot of that playing at times like your hair is on fire, and then other times it's been put out. You
Yeah.
actually got a little bit of a.
and I don't know why Grantham quit being himself too, Pat. I mean, remember they used to always blitz corners and safeties, and he quit doing that.
They
I
blitzed.
think he became afraid.
They blitzed on that play we were talking
Yeah.
about. Kyrie Elam blitz.
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay. Let's
good.
Let's not have your best cover guy covering anybody, and then just leave them wide open.
yeah,
So
yeah. That doesn't make sense.
that was not good. All right. Before we let you go, Robbie, we always like to do this, that, and the other when you're here.
Yeah.
So we've got a good this, that, and the other.
Then head
for
to the
you.
house.
Head to the house. All right. This, that, and the other, of course, is presented by Ballyhoo Grill, by Dar Shakow Insurance, and by Ironwood Golf Course here in the Shakow and Mercandone studios. All right, this. I don't know if you noticed this or not last week, Robbie, and I talked about it on Monday's show. We no longer have a winless team in Division I or FBS, whatever you want to call it, because Arizona won, and also UNLV was the other one, but
Oh, they both won.
they both won. And you're thinking, oh, that's great. Wait
Everybody's had them win.
All right, that's this. That is, we just are finding out because we aren't paying attention to that
Yeah.
game. The reason they won like 9-3 or something. They beat Cal. Cal was missing some of its best players, including its starting quarterback, who all tested positive for COVID.
It's still there.
24 players
Unbelievable.
were missing from the game, and that's certainly gave Arizona a boost. Well, the other is that now that number is up to 44 players.
44.
So they had to cancel their game. Now, as we all know, in college football, all these conferences basically said the same thing.
Once
If
you
you have to
forfeit,
cancel a game, it's
you're
a
done.
forfeit. Well, Southern Cal goes, hold on here. Wait, not so fast, my friend. We may need a win to get bowl eligible. We'll play you on December 4th. We're fine with it. We'll go ahead and play.
Yeah.
So rather than forfeit, they'll have to play that game on December 4th because USC wants to play it. And
This, that, and the other.
this, that, and the other. I mean, it is a
Crazy,
weird this,
isn't it?
that, and the other. All right, we will take a break. We'll come back with all we have to do a lot of things still. Obviously, the hand law, 3 things. The Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week, the Hesser and Kipke Games of the Weekend. All that and more coming up here on Another Duly Noted Podcast.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shackow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shackow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Duly Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brew To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. Hey, this is Pat Dooley for the Gainesville Quarterback Club, and they are having a trial membership here at the end of the season. It's really a great deal. We've talked about them doing it at the beginning of the season, and what they're doing is they're offering the next 3 meetings for $100. And believe me, you get a full meal out of this, too, for every one of these meetings. It's great speakers. The meeting dates for this are November 9th, 16th, and 23rd as we wrap up this college football season. Anyone interested in taking advantage of this trial membership can RSVP the membership leader at bob.bagley@pauldavis.com, or you can just pay at the door. Okay, we're back here, and again, thanks to Robbie for coming up by, and thanks again to Jan Richard for talking about the Rocky Blyer thing they have coming up Monday. Appreciate it. I was thinking during the break, well, there's a lot of things that were going on in my brain. For one, I was curious because I just saw where Brandon Spikes is opening a place over on University, and I think it's 37th, and it's a Cava, and is it Scrotum place, and I guess it's some kind of a herbal, and I didn't know what it was. I had to go look it up. So I had to go look it up, and now I know what it is. But it apparently is a kind of a depressant herb. I guess people want to go get depressed. But anyway, Brandon Spikes, you can go see Brandon Spikes. That's good. One of the great Gators ever. That was in it. People Are People. That song was driving me crazy by Depeche Mode. And it wasn't even that I heard the song, but in the background, when the music is playing here at Spurrier's Restaurant, it's like a bass, and that's all I could hear was a bass, and the bass sounded like it. So people are people. And the other thing I was thinking was how Florida feels kind of like that year when two Florida players blocked each other and everybody had fun making fun of them. And that is what Robbie and I talked about. People really enjoy it when the Gators are down. They love it. All around this conference, all around the country. And that year, on that play, it actually went for a first down, even though two guys were blocking each other on the same team. And I said, you should put that in their playbook. They didn't do that. But that's what it felt like with the whole Josh Van thing. Just embarrassing. I got a question on Facebook Live. I think it is from Gene Arnold. He wants to know how the LSU shoe toss compares to the Chicago Cubs' Billy Goat curse that lasted for decades. Well, I'm starting to wonder. I mean, since the shoe was airborne, remember, the game was tied at the time. The game was tied, and since then, all they've done is lose games, except for the Tennessee and Vandy games. But yes, 2-8 in postseason games, or not postseason, but Power 5 games, including that one. All right, we have to do a lot of things here in the last 7 or 8 minutes of the show, and we'll start off with the hand law of 3 things. Yeah, hand law, of course, we love the fact that they are sponsors of both Robbie Andrew's appearances and 3 Things, and we appreciate a double sponsor like them and Hesser and Kipke. 3 Things, of course, is presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. Thanks again to Chris at Hand Law. We did exchange some texts over the weekend, and I think I exchanged checks with just about everybody, every Gator fan and every out there, and none of them were very happy. I know that, not surprisingly. All right, number 1 on Hand Law's 3 Things. Calm down on these college football playoff rankings. Look, I get why people are talking a lot about it, especially the Michigan State controversy, because Michigan's ahead of Michigan State. People are mad about Cincinnati. This is what it was designed to do. It wasn't designed necessarily to have the 4 best teams. No, it's designed to get you guys talking about it. This is the whole purpose of the 14 playoff. It's probably why some people are resistant to going to 8 or 12, because it's working fine. 4 teams, people are mad about it all the time. They're talking about it all the time. But don't worry about it. It'll all work out in the end. Teams are going to play each other. Obviously, Michigan and Ohio State, a big game obviously coming up at the end of the year. If Cincinnati wins out, they'll get in. Even though, look, I believe Cincinnati will not put up much of a fight. But I will say this, if they get into the playoffs I'm talking about. I think they'll hang in there, but they'll end up losing because they just don't have the depth of athletes that the other teams are going to be. Like, especially if they get in as a 4 and they're playing Georgia in the first game. So I don't think that'll work out. But look, you're not playing well against a bunch of bad teams. I know teams sometimes play down to the level of their competition, and when you do that, sometimes it'll come up and bite you. I don't know. They play tonight against USF, which is terrible. If they don't look good against them, they're in trouble. But don't worry about what the playoffs are now. For example, and I'll talk about this in a minute, the Oklahoma, where they are, I think is ridiculous. But who cares? If they win this week and they, win the championship and go undefeated, they're going to get in. Calm down. That's number 1. Number 2, Scott Boros saying the Braves winning the World Series was the result of tanking in baseball, where teams go, well, we don't think we have the team. We're way out of it. Let's go ahead and get rid of our good players and get draft picks and start rebuilding, which may be true. I don't care personally if that's what it is. We know what it is. That's what the Braves did. The Braves tanked just, 6-7 years ago. They tanked as bad as they could tank, and then they got a lot of good players out of it. Not only that, but when the Braves picked up all these guys that ended up being World Series heroes, obviously Soler, and I've gone totally blank on the guy's name that was the MVP of the NLCS, Rosario. When they picked those guys up, I looked at their averages and numbers, and I went, they didn't get that much better. These guys peaked at the right time, but I don't care. The bottom line is the thing runs out. What do you call it? The agreement runs out. The Major League Baseball Players Agreement. It runs out December 1st, and there may be a strike coming up again. You know what I say? Good. That means the Braves are World Series champs for that much longer. Yay. I don't care. I'm just so happy that they won it. Number 3, congratulations to Patrick Young. I just did a big story on him. That's not why I congratulate him. But I just did a big story on him for the alumni newsletter, and he made his debut Tuesday night on SEC Network as a studio analyst. He will do some games. Sharp as a tack man, not surprised. That is going to be something that works really well. And I can't wait to see him doing some other games. He did tell me, they told him, don't say we. It's not we. The Gators aren't we anymore. Can't say that. All right, that is the hand law of 3 things. Let us go to the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. And I'm going with Colin Castleton, who on Tuesday night, as Florida started their basketball season, had a nice game. 18 points in 23 minutes. 6 blocks to go along with that and 4 assists. So he's got to cut down on those turnovers. 5 of them. Big game for the Gators on Sunday. Not huge. You can't play your second game of the season and have it be a huge game. But Mike White needs to beat these guys from Florida State eventually. 1 o'clock game on ESPN should be really entertaining to watch. But, I mean, it's the same thing every year, it feels like, with them. Although last year was different than anything we've ever seen. But they get out physical. Now, I watched FSU play its first game. I think it was Wednesday night. I watched some of it. And they're not quite the FSU teams that they've had in the past, but we'll see how that all works out. I'm sure that'll be a topic of conversation on Monday. That is the Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. Finally, here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast, presented by Titan MRI from the Shackhow and Mercandone Studios, the Hesser and Kipke Games of the Week, another double sponsor that they are. The Games of the Week are brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, a law firm based in Hale Plantation, specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit our website at www.hklaw.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. Here are the Games of the Week. The state game of the week, no-brainer, Miami at FSU. Now, Miami at FSU used to be a really big deal, but that's going to be an interesting game. I am looking forward to watching that game because these are 2 teams that are going to play hard. And that's something Florida hadn't been doing. But I'm enjoying I'll enjoy watching. Miami is a 2.5-point favorite in that game. The SEC game of the week is Texas A&M at Ole Miss. Ought to be a great game. A&M is a 2.5-point favorite in that game. That's a tough one. You know, it's a tough one to figure out who's going to win that game. The national game of the week, Oklahoma at Baylor. This is what I was talking about. Oklahoma's 8th and Baylor's 13th in the latest college football playoff rankings. But look, Oklahoma wins out. I still think they're going to get in. And a win in this game will certainly elevate them in the eyes of, the committee. But, again, if they're 7th, don't get all bent out of shape. They can just continue to move up. Oklahoma is a 5.5 points favorite in that game. In the under-the-radar game, South Carolina at Missouri. Well, it's a team that just beat Florida against a team that will beat them next week. But I'm curious to see what South Carolina does. My gut is they won't come out and play great. That's going to be sad. And if they do, then I'll say, well, maybe they had figure some things out. South Carolina is a 1-point favorite. It actually was Missouri was a 3-point favorite when the spread first came out, and now they are it switched now. South Carolina is a 1-point favorite. Always got to give you the Penn State spreads because I know that Ken Hester likes to know what the spreads are. He's had some tough losses lately. Michigan is a 1.5-point favorite over Penn State at Penn State. Now Penn State is a tough place to play, and that's a lot of the reason why the number is so low. Be interesting to see what I think this will be a boring game, and I'll be rooting for Penn State, Ken, just so you know. That is the Hesser and Kipke games of the week. We'll be back Monday, and they will have we'll do the Monday spreads from Hesser and Kipke. Of course, we'll have Hanlaw at 3 Things, Adams Red Coat to Go Gator of the weekend, and we'll be back starting a brand new Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks contest. We'll start that. And again, Alex Jenkins, our winner of the last segment. And just get me your information, Alex, and I'll get you all your stuff. That's going to do it for today's show. Thanks to Robbie. Thanks to Jan Richard. And thanks to you for watching. And thanks to our great sponsors on Another Dooley Noted Podcast from the Shackow and Mercadante studios. Until Monday, who knows what we'll be talking about then. This is Pat Dooley saying I'm deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.